The 2005 National Electrical Code, like previous editions, contains terms identified as possibly unenforceable or vague. These terms, while seemingly straightforward, can lead to inconsistent interpretations and enforcement. It's important to be aware of these terms and understand the context in which they are used. Here are some of those terms. Adequate implies a level of sufficiency but lacks a specific, measurable definition. What is considered adequate can vary depending on the specific installation and the judgment of the authority having jurisdiction. As required indicates that something must be done according to the code, but if the requirement is not clearly defined elsewhere, it becomes subjective. Approved means acceptable to the authority having jurisdiction. This definition places significant power in the hands of the inspector, and what one inspector approves, another might not. Easily accessible refers to the ability to reach something without undue difficulty. However, the level of difficulty considered undue is open to interpretation. Effective suggests that something produces the desired result. Without specific performance criteria, effectiveness becomes a matter of opinion. Free from damage implies a lack of physical harm or degradation. The threshold for what constitutes damage is not always clear. In good working order describes a state of proper functionality. This is another term that is very subjective to the person determining the working order. Liable to damage suggests a susceptibility to harm. The degree of susceptibility that triggers this concern is not explicitly defined. Must indicates a mandatory requirement carrying a high level of obligation. However, its overuse can dilute its impact and create ambiguity. Necessary implies essentiality. Deciding what is truly necessary can be subjective and vary based on the situation. Permanent suggests a lasting or enduring condition. The expected duration of permanence is not always specified. Proper indicates conformity to established standards or practices. Determining what is proper can be based on opinion. Qualified refers to someone who possesses the skills and knowledge. Defining qualifications can be challenging. Reasonable suggests fairness and appropriateness. It is an inherently subjective term. Shall indicates a mandatory requirement. This is a strong directive but can be confused with should. Should indicates a recommendation or advisory. It is less forceful than shall and allows for some flexibility. Suitable suggests appropriateness for a particular purpose. Suitability depends on various factors and can be interpreted differently. Sufficient implies enough to meet a need. Defining enough can be subjective without specific metrics. Temporary suggests a short-term condition. The allowable duration of temporariness is not always defined. Unless otherwise specified, indicates an exception to a general rule. The conditions that trigger the exception must be clearly defined. Where required indicates a condition that must be met in certain locations. The specific locations need to be explicitly stated. The presence of these vague terms in the National Electrical Code does not necessarily render the code unenforceable. However, it highlights the need for careful interpretation and clear communication between electrical professionals and authorities having jurisdiction. It also underscores the importance of consulting relevant standards and guidelines to clarify the intent of the code. Additionally, manufacturers' instructions should be carefully followed to ensure proper installation and operation of equipment. The NEC undergoes regular revisions to address ambiguities and improve clarity. Understanding the limitations of these vague terms is crucial for safe and compliant electrical installations. By recognizing the potential for misinterpretation, electrical professionals can proactively seek clarification and ensure consistent application of the code. Furthermore, ongoing education and training are essential for staying up to date with the latest code changes and best practices. This includes familiarity with relevant industry standards and recommended practices that supplement the NEC. The National Electrical Code serves as a foundation for electrical safety. Recognizing the limitations of certain terms is important for responsible code application. Understanding how these terms can be interpreted differently is important. This promotes safer electrical installations. This means recognizing the specific context and consulting the relevant standards. This allows for better and more accurate installations.